Welcome to another episode of Cleaning Up the Profits, dishing the dirt on cleaning business success, where we talk with real cleaning business owners and industry experts about what it takes to make it in the competitive world of professional cleaning.
Welcome to another episode of Cleaning Up the Profits, where we dish the dirt on what it takes to succeed in the cleaning world. I'm your host, Melissa Homer, Chief Cleaning Officer of Microfiber Wholesale. I'm a professional cleaning expert with over 20 years' experience in the professional cleaning industry, and I get the honor of interviewing our guests, who are cleaning business owners and experts from across the industry. We have a diverse guest list, everything from businesses new and old, large and small, but what they have in common is they have all succeeded in this world and built their businesses from the ground up and are taking time out of their incredibly busy schedules to share their hard-earned wisdom with us. So let's listen in. So without further ado, I want to get to our guest today. And our guest today is actually going to be a really unique conversation that I'm really excited to do. Because instead of our usual guest where we have cleaning business owners, I'm actually bringing in an industry specialist from the world of insurance. And I know you're thinking, oh, insurance, this is going to be exciting talk. But hear me out. In the world of cleaning, there is no more critical decision you are going to make about the success of your business than insurance. It is the one decision that if you get it wrong, your business can go from profitable to closed and bankrupt in a second. And I'm not over-exaggerating that reality. So this talk, as much as you may not want to sit through it, is probably the most important episode we're going to have. And I made sure I brought someone from the insurance world that you're going to want to talk to, because this is one of my friends and mentors that has been our guiding light for the franchise I worked with for decades. When it comes to insurance specialists that know what they're talking about, she is literally top in class. So you're going to be learning today. So sit your butts down, take out your pens and pencils, and let's meet Laura Bianchini from Moody Insurance. She has been in the commercial insurance industry for over 30 years. She has seen it all and gotten the businesses she supports through it all. So you're in for a special treat. Laura, I would love you to take a moment to introduce yourself. Thank you so much for taking time to be with us today. I know you have a ton on your plate, and we're so excited to have you. But I want to first, so our listeners get how lucky they are to hear from you, please explain a little bit about what you do and your background in the industry and why you're here.
I'm Laura Bianchini from Moody Insurance, and I specialize in writing residential and commercial cleaning insurance programs throughout the United States. I have carriers that I represent nationally, about 40 of them, but we actually have some that are exclusive to our agencies, which means no one has access to them but our agency. So my job is to protect an owner's assets, and I love the ins and outs of reading forms, finding coverage gaps, finding over coverage problems, and just helping business owners get ahead and help them sleep at night. So that's my job.
Absolutely. And for those listening home that may not be versed in insurance, I want to translate a little of what she said there. When it comes to the world of insurance, everyone thinks, oh, I'm just getting insured for, injury or for workers' comp, and I'm this big a business, so it's just a math formula, and here's a number, and easy, right? No. Insurance is so detailed in how it's written, and every different coverage group has different ins and outs of what they will cover and won't cover in this scenario and that scenario. And the gaps that she's talking about are the difference between I had something going wrong in my business and I'm covered, or I had something go wrong in my business and I'm out of business. So having an insurance agent that knows how to read these insanely long legal forms and see where they're sweeping under the rug what they are and aren't covering you for is huge. So that's what she specializes in. That's why I love her. And particularly, Moody specializes in insuring cleaning companies. Hear me now. I don't know who you're working with. This isn't an ad for them, but I'm just going to tell you right now, if you aren't working with an insurance agent that specializes in cleaning, you already have gaps. I guarantee you've got gaps. So that's part of what we're going to talk about today is I work with her is helping you understand, oh, I can't just shop this at any generic place. I'm not just running a ye old restaurant. I'm running a very unique type of business with very unique scenarios that have to be insured properly, or I am really at high risk for some serious claims. So that being said, I want to get talking to Laura. I just wanted to translate to make sure you all understood why you're so lucky to get her. So now that we know how awesome Laura is, and again, I've worked with her for over 18 years, which is why I knew I had to put her on the show, because people don't get this, and I want her to help them get it. First, I want to make sure people get to know you a little bit better and help them understand, how did you get into the world of insurance? What made you say, I know little kids like, I want to be a ballerina, I want to sell insurance. Like, how did you get here?
Yeah, so it is a funny story. I actually went to school for auto mechanics and welding, and I wanted to paint cars, and I wanted to do that for a living. And so I went through all of the schooling, and then was told by my mother that that wasn't going to happen, that this was a nice hobby, and that I needed to find another job. So I went to college, and I worked on some of what I wanted to do and decided, hey, I know the industry for cars. So I got into doing claims for high-risk insurance agencies. And I had worked my way up, but I have been at Moody for over 30 years now, from every position pretty much.
And that explains so much, because you have such an excellent understanding of the real life mechanics of what's going on in the businesses and the claims, because you used to deal with the actual claims themselves and worked your way up to where you are. So you've seen firsthand what goes wrong and how the insurance does and doesn't cover. That makes perfect sense why you're so excellent at finding those gaps, because you built your career through the business that way. Love that. It just adds more color to why I think you're amazing. All right, so that's perfect. So now people are understanding you've worked at every level of insurance, from high risk claims, managing them at the actual, nitty gritty stuff that went wrong, all the way to you now are in charge of huge national accounts and helping them select their correct coverage and making sure that they're helping them through the claims that they're hitting at a national level. I want you to speak to our listeners today about insurance for commercial and residential cleaning businesses and help them understand what they should be looking for, what gaps they should be aware of, when they need to be, out there shopping and looking for better coverage, and help them get a better color and sense for what can go wrong, as you've seen firsthand, when they, A, don't have the right insurance, and also B, business practices that might be leaving them extra liable. So let's dig in. First, I want to ask you I think it's a fun question, which is, you sign up a lot of new businesses for cleaning and insurance. And, quite frankly, our industry has a lot of turnover where, everyone you sign up, you kind of know some are not going to be here in a year or two. I'm curious, when you're bringing these businesses on, are you able to tell and go, this one's going to make it, this one I'm going to be closing out this account in a year? Can you see it, and what makes you see it?
Yeah, I can definitely see it. And sometimes it's sad because you want to pull people aside, especially like if they come to me and they said, I've had a coach. Like, I wonder who that coach was. Like, you need to talk with them. The reason for it is I think that everybody's starting a business. This is your business. This is your world. This is your everything. You're investing all of this time and energy and money and focus to grow something. And I think that sometimes people can get lost in the weeds trying to get the least expensive products, right? And it could be cleaning supplies, or it could be not taking the time to do training for their employees, or just not taking the time to do the necessary background information for hiring people. So sometimes when I see that people are just rushing through it and they're just like buying the least expensive thing that they can just to qualify for something, that's where I'm like, this could be a problem. There's going to be a lot of cleanup with that later.
What are some of the rookie mistakes you've seen when it comes to how they're running their business or how they're picking insurance that you've seen and gone, oof, that blew up in their faces? No names, obviously, but give our listeners some examples of what can go wrong, what they should be looking for here.
Yeah, so I think that for every business owner, they should know that no two insurance policies are the same, right? So when you are going out to the insurance market, you kind of think that the person that you're talking to knows what they're talking about. And many of these insurance carriers that are out there, a lot of these agents have worked for them for a year or two. They move on to different positions. They never keep the same ones. And you really need to have somebody that specializes in your world that writes the coverages that you need. And some of the top ones that I tell people about are property damage, care custody control, the hired and non-owned auto liability, and your bonding coverage. There are a ton of other ones right now too. But as a business owner, you want to be able, when you're working yourself, the care that you take is immense. You're proud of your work. But when you're bringing in employees that are working for you, they may not take that same care. And that is where it can become very challenging and where mistakes can happen because either they're rushing through something, they want to finish quick, or they think they know how to do something better than what they've been trained on. And so we are here to help with the coverage piece of it to make sure that when accidents do happen, that you have what you need and that you don't find out when it's too late and then you're on the hook for a large claim.
And I know you use some industry terms there, so I'm going to have you just take a break for a quick second, and you gave those 4 topics. Just explain what each of them are in civilianese, just for a quick second. What's care, use, custody, and control? Just quickly so people understand.
Sure. So property damage, an example of it would be is maybe you're carrying a bucket of cleaning solution across carpet, and the carpet becomes discolored because something leaked on it, and you have to replace all of the carpet. Or care custody control could be something that you're actually working on. So maybe you're dusting a flat screen television and it falls off a wall. Or you're working on a projector system in a commercial office building and it comes down and it's your responsibility. That's care custody control. The hired and non-owned auto liability, every business that's out there, and I don't care what kind of business you have, should have this on their policy. Anybody driving on a business's behalf using their own vehicles is responsible for their own insurance. That is state law everywhere. But in the event that somebody doesn't have enough insurance or has no insurance at all, and they're out driving on a business owner's behalf, you could be responsible for something that they've done. So let's say that they've rear-ended a school bus, or they've rear-ended a van or something and caused property damage and bodily injury. If they don't have enough insurance or they don't have any insurance, your business just became primary on it. And that's one of the large things that we see that's not even on the policy. For the property damage and the care custody control, we see limits that are very limiting. Like you may have a sub-limit of $5,000, and $5,000 in property damage right now is not very much anywhere. So even in a high-end home. So
that's huge and exactly what I need you to describe. So for those listening in, to be very clear, as a cleaning company, people don't realize, oh, my employees driving to the homes, they're their own insurance, I'm good to go. It's like, no. If they don't have enough insurance, if they cheaped out and got a crappy policy and they rear-end a school bus and injure a bunch of kids, your business is the one on the hooks if you're not properly insured. The care custody control limits thing is another huge one I've definitely seen in the world, where they're like, oh, I've got insurance for claims, and they don't realize that their policy says some rando limit as a percentage of revenue or upper price limit or whatever. And we clean in professional cleaning some incredibly expensive homes with incredibly expensive to replace stuff. And you can hit limits and walls real quick. I know I've seen, even in my Maypro world, where people were, running things very well from years of training, do $10,000, $20,000 worth of damage in one fell swoop, from things as simple as accidentally, not realizing they screwed up a toilet and it leaked and it flooded the whole lower level of a house. I had one that was using the wrong product on the floor. They had to get the floor all refinished and sanded. These are big claims. And it, depending on what you have on limits, you could be in big trouble.
And I did want to add, the other one that I was talking about was the bonding coverage, and that's just employee theft. And many people see employee dishonesty on their policies and they don't realize it's third party. So employee dishonesty, when it's regularly written, just means employee dishonesty from you. So your cleaner stole something from you. That's not what the coverage is that you need. You need it when they're stealing something from your clients in their clients' residences or businesses. So
what's the right term for that? So they know what they're looking for.
It's third-party dishonesty bonding.
Thank you. That's
You're welcome.
another biggie. For those of you playing along at home going, I'm insured, I'm fine. Go look. I bet you money you may not find it. And that's a big deal. And actually something I remember you explained to me once historically that would make you bring up here again is the issue of if there's a perceived theft, but no one can find proof of the theft. Oh, the earrings have gone missing, but there's no missing earrings at the cleaner's house. There's no missing earrings at the customer's house. We can't find these missing earrings, but they're darn tootin' sure you took it. Some insurances cover that, some don't, right?
That's correct. Mysterious disappearance, and our forms do cover it. So yes, that is
Mysterious disappearance. That's a term I need you to go look up tonight. I'm serious. Because more often than not, you're not going to have that smoking gun. I can tell you right now from years of professional cleaning industry, very rarely are they going to go to your employee's house and find the earrings. But the customer's certainly going to hold you accountable if they can't find the earrings. So you better make sure that mysterious disappearance is covered in your insurance. What have you seen in cleaning companies where you're like, ooh, that was smart. I like how they handled that in terms of protecting themselves, in terms of making their business profitable and successful and protected. From your perspective, what have you seen where you're like, ooh, I like that?
I think that any business owner that's investing time in training their employees when they put together a training manual, if they have procedures set up as far as like what to do when claims come through, but really the procedures manual is the biggest thing that you can go back to, because whether you have a senior person in your office that's helping you that could be out, there's always a guide for somebody to go to, and you know that it's going to help them be successful. And you can tell the people that have invested the time and taken the training and gotten the help that they've needed. And even like through our office, we have a ton of training that we can give to our clients to use for safety training or put procedure manuals in place. Not so much as far as how to do things, but as far as like cleaning supplies that they should be using or equipment that they should be using. But we can talk in reference to like driver safety, cell phone usage, taking personal cars home at night, different things like that.
Now, tell me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe that there can be situations where your business is more or less liable, depending on if you can prove that you've properly trained people for these sort of things. Is that true? And if so, can you speak to that for a minute so people understand that one of the values of that?
Yeah, so it's actually a catch-22 with this, because you're liable because they're your employees, right? It's the severity that you want to cut down on. So if you are doing the training, even if somebody's made a mistake, it's still in a positive light when you're looking at the insurance company. They're like, this person was trained. It was a total accident, but accidents are covered under my policies. Some policies, if you don't have workmanship included under the policies, they don't pick up the coverage. And so things that you should be doing and know to be doing may not be covered. But it's just not how the policy forms are written. But for people that take the time, invest the time, you can sit back and relax and know that you have the insurance coverage taken care of the way you need it to.
Absolutely. Because I will say, I know for particularly, not necessarily for the insurance, but specifically for OSHA, if people get hurt through your workplace and you can't show that you told them not to do whatever wackadoodle thing they did that got themselves hurt, you are in big trouble.
Yes.
And, you may have an insurance policy that covers it for now, but they certainly aren't going to help you with the fines you're going to get from OSHA for not having to explain to your two employees how to use ladders properly, or et cetera. And now they've injured themselves drastically.
I did want to, you are so right on that. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that these penalties, no insurance company covers that. You're on your own.
Thank you for saying that out loud. Your insurance carrier isn't helping you with OSHA penalties. So if your employee shouldn't have been on a ladder, wasn't trained to be on the ladder, fell off the ladder, your workers' comp may cover that employee's injuries for now. That's nice. But everything you're about to get as a ration of hell from the government for having had that employee on the ladder, you're hanging out high and dry by yourself on that one. Okay? So please understand the difference. And actually, tell me if I'm wrong, Laura, I believe there is an issue of if you did not tell your insurance carrier accurately what your employees would be doing, you may not be covered. Is that true? I believe, if you told them we are light commercial or residential and you didn't ask for insurance for ladders, but you decided to throw them up on some A-frames anyway, what happens there?
So what will happen is the employee will be taken care of because workers' compensation comes first. But what's going to happen to the business owner is the scary part. They can go back and add the classification that should be charged on your policy for whatever it was. Not only can they add it for this year, they can go back to 3 years and charge premium for it. And then you could have some type of penalty or fine as well.
So hear that loud and clear, boys and girls, because this is a biggie that I've definitely seen people get whacked for hard. They tell the insurance company, oh, I'm a residential cleaner. Oh, I'm like commercial. And then they're doing stuff that's out of their class of work because, hey, the money was green and the customer asked for it. Cool, I get you. But you didn't go back and tell the insurance. Now someone gets hurt or something gets damaged in that work you weren't supposed to be doing. They can charge you the missing amount of insurance 3 years back all at once plus fines. Enjoy that day. It's a scary check. So scary check. Okay. So please hear me on that one. Again, from your perspective, you've helped so many businesses. What are some of the things that you see people doing that are causing, I guess we'll call it the most expensive, the most in number or most expensive claims? What are you seeing them out there doing? And we're like, oh, why are they doing this? This is keeping me well employed. It's job security, but
So 2 things is the biggest one. I would think the largest claims that come through in our world have to do with auto losses, people not pulling background checks on their employees, them coming through and then having huge workers' compensation losses because of it. Because some people can have 1, 2, 4 people in a vehicle to go to clean a residence or an office. And if you have 4 people injured in an auto accident because somebody doesn't have a great driving record to begin with, it's huge workers' compensation claims. So that's one of the largest. But the other is incorrect products being used for cleaning, causing property damage. And people don't realize, well, I only, ruined a small section of a countertop. Well, that countertop may no longer be available, or they may not be able to have a product that can match it. It could be new and it's not available any longer still, even in a year's time. So I caution people because you could be, redoing somebody's kitchen. You could be redoing somebody's bathroom. So depending on, or even flooring, it is a big deal right now. So, using the correct products that you're supposed to be using and getting the training before using them.
And I hadn't even considered the auto one that, you think about, I obviously, I know people get in car accidents all the time, but you don't think about, geez, I got 4 people piled in this car. If we all get hurt, that's a huge claim, especially if you as a business can be shown to have hired somebody that had a known driving record issue. That's a big deal. And the products fund, we all know that products cause damage, but I think you're right. That a lot of people presume, oh, it's house cleaning. It'll be little DIY fixes. I can just patch this little thing over here. But you're actually business liable for making it back to the condition it was. And if that's not possible, if it's not a little DIY fix, you're redoing that person's whole counters. And by the way, if they're removing the old counters and it screws up the drywall or it does whatever else to, as they're trying to scratches up the cabinets as they're trying to get it off, you're liable for fixing everything that busts in the process of trying to get those stupid counters replaced. So It can go from little patch to, I just got this lady a whole new kitchen. Like that, especially if you don't have the right insurance. Can you share a juicy example of one of those claims you're like, oof, that went sideways fast?
I think we had a claim not long ago where a stopper got caught up in a tub and they didn't check. There was water that was leaking. Somebody had gone out of town, and when they came back, the bathroom had fallen into the living room. And I know. I didn't even know that was possible.
Say that again louder for our listeners.
Yeah. So what happened is they had a upstairs bathroom, and the tub stopper got closed when they were cleaning it, and there was a leak. No
Oh,
fault,
they didn't like turn off the faucet all the way type of thing?
wasn't turned off all the way. It was a drip, but the people had been gone for quite some time. But when they came home, so much water had sat, that the bathroom had fallen through to the second floor. And that was probably the biggest claim I've seen that I was like, oh my gosh, because that's liability. That's property damage.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's insane.
Yeah.
I
And
can't imagine what that final bill was.
it was a huge claim, but it's probably one of the largest. We've also seen some crazy things too. And I caution people, have a great relationship with your insurance agents. All claims should always go through your agents before you call your insurance carriers directly, because you want to make sure that you're saying the right things when you're reporting the claim and not something that's like off the wall. We had a claim that came through where somebody had been driving, they were eating food when they were driving, and this, long story short, it was a commercial vehicle. It was the mom's vehicle. She let the daughter borrow the car to go to school. And the daughter was eating cereal. And she said she hit a woman, an older woman. And it's very sad, because it would have honestly have been better had the woman passed at the time. But because she went to the hospital and she was in for so long, it was awful for everybody all the way around. But her explanation was, my cereal didn't even come off the dashboard. Like, you have to know not to say those things to an insurance company ever. Like, so things happen. The crazy things.
That's you say you see it all. You see it at all. That speaks back to that importance of how you're screening your employees and managing things like cars going home at night. Most people, when they're opening clean business, the last thing on their mind is, I'm going to open this clean business. I'm going to get a car for the business. My employee's going to take it home at night, let their irresponsible teenager drive it and kill somebody. And that's going to be on my business's insurance. Like, that's not anywhere in anyone's mind when they're like, oh, I want to get into house cleaning, or I want to get into commercial cleaning. So these stories are real and they happen, and that's what kids insurance is for. But it's sobering perspective on how important it is to make sure that not only you're hiring the right people, but you're having meaningful conversations with them about that vehicle is tied to my business insurance. It is driven by you and nobody else. And honestly, it makes you not want to sit down with them at night for that very story alone. Yikes. So thank you for sharing that. That's huge. The one you shared about the dripping faucet, I saw a similar one, not that, but a employee had turned up the heat in a client's home because they were in cleaning. They're supposed to turn it back down. The customer was away. They had oil heat. She burned through an entire season's worth of oil while his customer was away with this thing roaring high heat 24/7 because she came and it was cold, so she cranked it and forgot about it and left and burned through their whole tank of oil before they came home because she had forgotten to turn the heat off. Luckily, the bill on that is a lot less than sending a bathroom through the floor. But being aware of in your training procedures, making sure employees know to check all the things they turned on and turn them off, and make sure everything's set before they go is huge for that very reason. Thank you for bringing those up. I hope everyone's listening and taking home nuggets for that. When it comes to business procedures, things that you're like, yes, these are things I find are helpful for cleaning businesses, or no, I see this going on a lot. What are some of the, I guess, things you see out there that, that stand your hair on end when you hear companies saying, oh, I don't know, I'm going to give some examples of, we use, metal razor blades to scrape off the top of the stovetops. We use, really heavy gel acid to get hard water out. Are there any products or procedures that you've seen coming through a lot where you're like, guys, can we not with this anymore? Are there any of the claims coming through for?
There's, I think the biggest thing is when things do happen, a lot of people that think that they can go fix something on their own, try to go fix it on their own. And I caution people with that. So it's not even so much what they're doing. Like the ladders, we had people using step stools in a bathroom, and somebody told us that they weren't using shoes. And I said, so you're in socks? And they're like, no, we go in barefoot. And I said, you can't go in barefoot. So there's a lot of people that do this, and you'd be surprised. But when they're cleaning showers, or if they're in wet rooms, or they're not using shoes, it drives me absolutely crazy. I just don't understand. It's the safety.
So people are cleaning barefoot in the bathrooms.
Barefoot in the bathrooms.
That's actually a common thing.
It's common.
I'm sorry. I'm personally horrified right now. I realize you hear everything.
I know.
But I'm sorry. I'm going to rewind. This happens multiple times. We hear this a lot.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. For
Especially
anyone listening,
up on a ladder.
God, A, you're all going to get athlete's foot. Enjoy that because you haven't cleaned yet. Enjoy that. But B, everything that goes wrong, from chemical drips to things breaking to slip and fall, that's now your bare feet that are getting stabbed and burned and shit.
Yeah.
That your feet do not provide that type of traction. There are so many better choices here. House shoes, if you're worried about dirt, you can just have shoes that you bring in and put them on. There's shoe covers that are non-slip that they exist. I promise I'll mention them and links at the end on this thing. But if any of you are the barefoot bathroom cleaners, make that stop, like today. Yeah. Oh, by the way, it's kind of illegal for OSHA. And so, even if if they catch you, you are in so much trouble because you've put your employees at so much risk. So yeah, no, stop. Thank you. I had no idea that was a thing. Oh.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Oh my gosh. What have you seen in terms of this market right now? I know people are struggling to find employees. It's hard. And so I know it's making people make decisions they may not have consistently made in the past. Are you seeing a trend in any changes in terms of damages in workers' comp and things because people are getting desperate and putting whoever they can in there? Or are you seeing, what are you seeing in terms of how that employee trend is impacting your insurance world? I won't leave the question. I'll let you tell me.
But that is actually a very true statement. So people are quick to get people in to work, and they're not doing due diligence on training. So we are seeing more things happen as far as like property damage goes, more so than what we've seen in the past. Also, not taking the time to screen the employees properly. So maybe not checking on background checks the way that they should be. I always recommend doing a national background check. There are great organizations out there that do a good job. But you need to check them because you could have things missing in multiple places before you even know that stuff's happening. It could all come in at one time and you could have 10 claims. So it's even with the property damage, you send somebody out and somebody comes home and they're like, oh, and then they're at another house and they've already done the same damage. So we've had multiple claims and it's lack of training. So yeah.
Now, you did the name of the theft one I want to go back to. I think it's an important one. You're saying that you've seen it reasonably consistently where people missed the background check issue, and this person's already hit 10 of their clients before the company cottoned on to the fact that this person was, nicking pills or earrings, whatever it is. And what happens, explain to me, in insurance, well, presuming they've got good insurance or bad insurance, if you've messed that up, what happens?
Yeah, so our policies don't have what's called a conviction clause. So many of the times when things are taken, we don't have to wait for a person to be convicted in a court of law for coverage to apply. So chances are coverage will apply for things if you've got a background check. If you don't have a background check and it's part of the requirement, some insurance carriers require it, you could have no coverage. So even though that you purchased a great bond from whatever company, if their it says you have to have a contract in place and you have to have a clear background check. If you don't have both, your coverage could be null. You could have nothing. So it's important to know what you have ahead of time. But we don't have a conviction clause and we don't require contracts with ours.
So again, why I love Moody Insurance, but just so everyone's clear, if you shop local, double check your policies. If there's what they call a conviction clause, that may mean you don't get any money until this person has been convicted of all these crimes, which can take a while, and they may squirrel out of it if there isn't enough proof. And you've still got all these angry customers on your doorstep looking for whatever money we're back for whatever gone wrong. The other thing that you mentioned there is if this person was not background checked, even if you have insurance, like, oh, I have insurance, but I was in a rush, I'm down employees, I took this worker, I put them out there, and I haven't done the background check. If it comes up with anything, you may not be covered at all, regardless of how much you've been paying for insurance for years. That is a huge thing to please keep in mind. And you mentioned the national background check. I know you could, obviously you're not, I know you know a lot about background checks, but we're kind of sliding into the background check world just for a moment here. Can you explain what the difference is between just doing like a local county check or getting that national check? Can you explain what might happen there?
Yeah, so each insurance carrier is a little bit different. Our program only requires the national, but a lot of times if you've seen or known that somebody has moved multiple times, or you know that it's somebody that has just come from another state and they've come, you're going to want to do more than just the national. You may want to check the counties prior to, because a lot of times we're finding that people have moved often. It's sometimes they're changing their information so that they can get away from a record that they might have that's prior. And many of the insurance company or many of the companies that do the background checks can do either national or local, or it depends on who you're using. And I want to point something out on the conviction clause. Police departments right now are super busy in many jurisdictions. And convictions, you know, they used to have the time in a lot of states to do this research and get these conviction clause to go through, right? Make sure that these convictions are happening, and then you would have coverage. But the convictions can take up to 3 years. And I want people to know that, because it's your name and it's your reputation. So definitely get a bond that does not have a conviction clause where you don't have to wait, where if you think something's happened, you can report it and not wait for a conviction to come in from a court.
Yeah, no customers waiting 3 years to get reimbursed.
Yeah, that's your name. It's your name, your reputation.
And you will be screaming on every social media they can find for all those 3 years if you aren't coughing up the cash right now.
Absolutely.
That's huge. One of the things I know from my background in professional cleaning, I'll just share as well, that depending on where you live, some areas have done a great job of upgrading their systems to make all their background check digital data easily accessible and searchable and functioning well. But there are still plenty of areas in the country that have ye olde paper files and little old DOS systems of doom from 94 that they bought and they haven't upgraded, God knows. And they're not part of the national crim search. There are counties kind of hanging out over here, and you have to ask them in specific to get that county data before it can take months to roll up to the national data. So if I had fun, steal all of my customers' pills 2 counties back, and came to you, I just moved to new in the area and I need a job, that data may not be in the national crim search yet. It is extremely important to check that last county, because depending on how slow that county is, it can take a long time before that data hits the national level, if it hits it at all. And you're still liable when I nick all the pills in your customer's house and it was information that was available that you should have found and you didn't. Is that correct?
That's very correct. Yes, absolutely.
I want to make sure I'm thinking what I've seen, but I want to make sure I'm representing it properly. In terms of helping businesses succeed, that's our goal here. Obviously, one of the big things is making sure they aren't paying for these massive losses. Are there anything that you can share with them in terms of smart coverage that should allow them, to get to those next levels that they may not be thinking about? Are there any, I know you mentioned the biggies there, but are there other policies you're like, if you want to make it in this business, this is some stuff you want to make sure you're protected over?
Yeah, I think 2 of the hot topics right now in the insurance world, the first one is cyber. Every business needs to have cyber insurance coverage. And I can't stress it enough. Most of a business owner's policies will include a little bit of coverage, and some is better than nothing. But please make sure that your policies have some cyber coverage. We're seeing smaller businesses being hit. Before it was all the large companies, right? You would hear about Target getting hit, or just these massive companies. But what we're seeing now is smaller businesses. So make sure you have something that also includes some data breach coverage, just in case your client's information gets taken by mistake or something's left out and an employee shares it, that kind of thing. The other is employment practices liability. So what that does is if you have an employee that comes to you and is alleging sexual harassment, wrongful termination, discrimination, unfair wage practices, there's some coverage that you can get under employment practices liability. And we recommend that all business owners have it. It's another peace of mind. Many policies will include a little bit of coverage now. It's better than none. So you definitely want to have something under there versus nothing. But there are standalone policies that will actually give you access to an attorney as well. So let's say you have a thorn in your side that you want to get out the door. They're causing problems. It is being toxic in your whole group, and you need to get this person out. You could actually call and make sure that the documentation you have is what you need, so that you have peace of mind that you're letting them go properly. So there are policies out there.
That's awesome. And the cyber coverage, again, is something that I'm sure most people are like, I'm going to start cleaning houses. They're not thinking about, these days, a lot of these companies are getting targeted because all the larger businesses have gotten very good at cybersecurity. They're harder to crack into. And just like any robber, they're going to go after the easy to break into houses. The guy with the 6 Dobermans and the security system, we walk past that one to the guy that's just got the locked door because I can pick that in 2 seconds and get in. Bigger companies are harder to break into. But Joe Schmo's cleaning company, you probably got some credit cards because you're running a cleaning company. You probably got some other juicy data. I can scoop that too. And you probably have nothing more than a basic modem. And maybe a firewall you got off McAfee when you opened up the computer. You're a 2-seconder for them. That's a problem if you don't have insurance, because you are liable, if I'm correct, for any of the losses your customers suffer if you did not protect their data properly. Is that accurate?
Accurate, very accurate. Yeah.
Some of the things I wanted to hit that we haven't talked yet is just some of the fundamentals. I know this sounds weird, but I think a lot of people don't understand how what they're telling their insurance carrier when they're signing up may or may not leave them open to some pretty significant risk if they didn't sign things up right in the beginning. Things like, for example, one of the ones I know I've seen in my world is you can be signed up either as a light commercial cleaner or a residential cleaner, or there's different classifications. And if you lied about what you're doing, you may get a different rate, and people think, they're being slick. They're getting a little bit of a discount, but that could actually get you in trouble if something goes wrong and the insurance carrier figures out you weren't honest about what you're doing. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Residential cleaning can be more expensive in many states. So a lot of people are using the commercial cleaning class and thinking that they're going to save money. I'd recommend people not do that. If you have people that are doing residential cleaning, put them in the residential class, and get people that are doing commercial cleaning and put them in a commercial class. If you have somebody that is doing both, you'll want to check with your agent in your state if you can split their payroll on your payroll reports, if you can do it that way and split the cost on your policies. So what's been happening is the last several years, we haven't had a lot of auditors, right? A lot of these policies have just been passing through. People are doing their audits at home, sending them in. They're starting to do physical audits again. And we're seeing that the insurance commissioners are actually sending people to do random phone calls to make sure that, hey, you have an office that's truly open still. And by the way, what are you doing in there? And they're trying to catch people to find out if they're doing anything differently than what they're saying. And I tell people, you have to be very careful. So I am Laura, and I'm an insurance agent, and I'm in an outside sales class. But if for some reason Chris Moody asked me to go up on the roof to check something, my classification just became roofer. So even if it's a one-time thing, they can come back and put you in the highest rated class. So it's also in how you're answering questions that you need to be coached on before you take these calls or talk with NCCI or talk with the people that are going to be making these random calls or filling out your audit paperwork. You just want to make sure ahead of time that you're doing it right.
That's huge. And just to put a bow on it for perspective here for those listening in, you may be saying, wait a minute, I'm confused. Why is residential cleaning more expensive to insure than commercial cleaning? Aren't the commercial guys the ones with the big crazy floor buffers and all this hardcore equipment? Shouldn't they be more expensive to insure? And the answer is nope. It's actually surprising. Residential cleaning is more expensive to insure than commercial. Reason being, to be quite honest, we're known in residential for doing more crazy things more often. In commercial cleaning, everyone knows, oh gosh, this is gel acid bowl cleaner. It can fry my arm off. I've been putting my gloves. Oh gosh, this is a floor buffer. It can rip my shoulders clean off. Let me be careful with this big crazy machine. But when we get into house cleaning, everyone goes, it's just women's work. Come on, can it be? And they tend to clean much more cavalierly, throw caution to the wind, the rules out the window. They're climbing up on wet counters. They're climbing up on furniture. They're doing whatever, grandma taught them to do, because it's just house cleaning. I know how to clean my own house. And so people feel much more comfortable breaking lots more rules and getting a lot more damage in workers' comp claims as a result. So I know it sounds weird, but residential is more expensive to insure. And the insurance agencies are doing it for a reason, because it is more expensive. They need their money. That's how they stay profitable. So lying to them kind of pisses them off. And so when you have a problem, it's going to be big. Okay. So make sure you're classifying your employees properly. But she mentioned a cool hack there, which is, depending on the laws of your area, you may be able to track the employee's payroll when they worked commercially versus they worked residential, if they're doing both, so that at least you get some savings on the work they're doing that is in that lower risk group. Is that a fair summation?
Absolutely.
When it comes to liability insurance, I know everyone's always like, cheapest product. I don't want to pay for this. Are there certain things that you want to make sure people know they should be looking for that may cost them a little bit more scratch, but are important?
Yeah, absolutely. So liability, and not many people know this, but in the janitorial world, liability is for bodily injury. In many residential cleaning companies, you're not going to cause liability. You're not going to cause somebody to injure themselves. An employee may get injured, but that's workers' compensation coverage. Liability, the coverage you need and the forms that you need to buy back in a policy are your property damage, your care, custody, control, and your workmanship, your work. And many policies exclude that coverage. So people say, oh, I'm going to put it out there because this one I get all the time. I went to Next Insurance and I got liability coverage. And, oh yeah, it says liability and I have coverage. Not all of them have coverage. Unless you have the forms specifically written that say property damage, care, custody, and control, and workmanship, you really have liability if you're going to hurt somebody. That's it.
So, this is, thank you, because this is, I don't know if their listeners, I don't even know if I do that difference, because again, I've been spoiled. I've been working with you, so I know my coverage is right. But people say I have liability insurance, but depending on how it's written, the liability is just, did someone slip and fall walking across my wet floors? Not, did my employee who's using the floor buffer like I told them to, so now it's workmanship, because this is what I told them to do, lose control of the machine and smash into the projector machine and technology set up in this, fancy room here, and now it's trashed and $1,000 worth of stuff. That's not covered under liability because nobody got injured and they were doing the job they're supposed to do if you have the wrong insurance. Am I correct on that example?
That is correct. Absolutely.
Yikes. Thank you for pointing that out. For anyone that's listening, go home tonight, pull out the policy, and look for, give them the words again, please. What the description of what it's supposed to be there. Can you give it to me one more time?
The property damage, care, custody, control, or workmanship. Make sure they're in the form. Yeah.
Thank you. please, because it's very easy. Like you said, people go online like, oh, I got insurance, click, click, click. If you don't have an agent that's walking you through it, you can say, oh, it said the word liability, but you don't know what you're reading. And that's huge. I'm going to ask you a question I actually ask a lot of the business owners, which is, what do you wish people better understood about the cleaning industry? From your perspective, I think consumers and business owners don't get it a lot of times. And I think you get it from a very different perspective because you help people through all these challenges. What do you wish they got about the industry when they're frustrated with their cleaners about insurance and the coverage of claim? What do you see that sort of the frustration in the industry? What do you wish they got that they don't get? Because I think you have a lot of compassion for these owners that people don't have that they should.
I really do. I think that it's just a class of business that people just think that they can just write it anywhere. And my frustration in our world with different insurance companies is that coverage not written correctly and people suffering financial consequences, right? Because that's what you try to avoid. But I tell people, and I see frustration with business owners, like there's cycles in offices, right? Where you might have 3 workers' compensation claims, and then all of a sudden you've got nothing for 15 years. And then you've got these large claims coming through. Accidents happen. They do. Accidents happen. Property damage happens. Auto accidents happen. Employees get injured. It's all part of it. And I think just understanding your coverage and having somebody to walk you through it and not feeling like you're going through something alone is the biggest thing that I can tell people. It's communication with your, and not to look at people always as vendors. You should look at people as partners because you're all there to support each other with the ins and outs of the very important financial information of yours. So you should have a partner that you're working with. It's just like having a lawyer or an accountant, making sure that you are taken care of and not just by some Joe Schmo that is out there not helping somebody. They just are quick to write something and move on. So, but I think frustration for business owners that I see is where they think that people have been trained or know something more than what they do. Reiterating training, having these classes, sharing information as you get it with each other. It's all very important.
I think you hit on so many important things. I'm just going to kind of put some bows on because you're spot on. One is that whole thinking I can go shop anywhere for insurance as a cleaning company. Most cleaning companies are run by 5 employee less little companies. That someone started cleaning themselves. They bring in, spouse, cousins, a couple friends, and it opens a company now. They have no business background, so they have no reason to realize how unique cleaning companies are in terms of insuring. So they're like, oh, I have to have insurance to look like a big business so that I can get these larger accounts. I'm going to hop online and Google a quick cleaning company, and people will write up anything or order it online or whatever. And they don't realize that their business is extremely unique. I think you mentioned something that most people don't get, which is they know they should have an intimate relationship with their accountant, and they should have an intimate relationship with their lawyer, that this is a trusted advisor that they're going to regularly over the course of their business. But they don't think of their insurance agent that way. They think of that as get the policy written, throw it in a file until, oops, one day something goes wrong. I go off the file, dust up. What's the name of my insurance agent again? Oh, her name's Laura. Cool. Hey, Laura, I screwed up. And Laura doesn't remember you from Beans, or not you, the hypothetical Laura, not you, Laura, because I know you're amazing with your clients. But hypothetical Laura doesn't know you from Beans and goes, actually, this policy you signed up for doesn't cover that, and you're kind of sitting there high and dry. If anyone's watching this, the thing I need you to get out of this more than anything else is make sure the company you work with has a history of working with commercial cleaning, whether you're doing commercial or residential work. They need a history with it because so many policies she's described are different than what the average company needs. When the average company wants liability, they're worried about someone slipping on the ice in front of their store. They're not worried about, did my employee, through the task I told them to do, smash some customer's $1 million house? That's a very different liability. And if the agent you're working with doesn't understand cleaning and is just click, 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 move on, because you're a little company, they don't care too much, you could be in very hot water. So thank you for bringing that up, because I think a lot of people don't get it. And it's sad because so many people that get into our industry are not, MBAs. They're not business background. They have no reason to know they don't know.
Yeah.
That is that classic. You don't, you can't ask about what you don't know that you don't know.
Right.
You can't go Google and learn, what don't I understand about insurance, if you didn't realize I don't understand insurance. People think they do because, again, they've never been exposed to this world, and it's very easy for an insurance agent to be like, you're fine, when they are not, because they just want to sign this thing up and go. They don't want to tell them, actually, I'm the wrong company you should be working with. I don't have a specialty in this. You need to work with a company that's going to get you policies focused on your industry. Let's go ahead and end this with a little fun. Can you share, I usually ask our cleaning company owners any, I guess we'll call it fun stories of either, heartwarming or holy crap type stories that they've run into their professional career. Obviously, we'll keep these PG-13, thank you. But, things people come to you with, either, the heartwarming stories of, we saved the dog from the burning building, or, oh no, we're the ones that caused the burning building. Are there any, sort of wild claim stories or sweet, heartwarming things you could share with us for the fun for our listeners?
Heartwarming would be, I do a lot of health insurance for Maryland, DC, Virginia area. And I always tell people, work with local agents for that type of stuff, because you need somebody specific in your state. But I had somebody years ago that had caps on policies. And looking back, they had a family member that was a cancer patient, and they had these caps on their policies, and then the caps ended up being removed. And that was heartwarming for me, just because they were able to get the care and families weren't stuck with all these bills later. Ultimately, it didn't end in a great situation, but the family was able to survive through it. And looking back at that, knowing that they were able to make it, like, had things not changed and these rules hadn't changed and people hadn't pushed these insurance companies to make strides to remove caps or to do different things, they would have struggled. So for me, that was an aha moment, and it actually touched me because we had the same thing happen in our family. So,
I thank you for saying that, because the world of insurance is changing, and people are pushing them to be what we need them to be. And, it is a scary thing when, you're a good business owner, you want to do right by your employees, you think you've signed, insurance that's going to protect them, and then you find out, whoopsies, I didn't get what they need, and now they're going through this incredible hardship of, losing family members to cancer or whatever is going on, and instead of focusing on that family member, they're having to focus on what's happening to us financially. How are we going to make it through this? How are we paying these bills after this person passes? It's one thing to be the person going through it and in the center and saying, oh gosh, this has happened to my family. But there's a whole extra level of guilt when you're the business owner that signed them up for this stuff. And it was, your lack of research that is adding that layer of travesty to this already tragic situation. And I think it's important to hear that people are agitating for change and better policies and more humane coverage, and I think it's important to know that, things are getting better, but you still have to know how to shop around and find those places that are providing that extra level of coverage. And it is heartwarming to see when people are able to get those changes made in time to help families that are going through that sort of thing. And, they're able to focus on the family and not, this is going to financially devastate us the way it used to.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely huge. And frankly, I'm glad that's what you ended on, because you already gave us the lady who sunk the person's bathroom through a whole floor of the house. I think that's as wild a claim as we're going to get today, isn't it?
Yeah.
That one wins.
Yeah.
Just before I wrap up, is there anything, you've got an earful of cleaning business owners, both commercial and residential, that, before they tune out, is there anything you wish I'd asked you that you wanted to communicate, and help them understand about insurance, anything you're like, okay, before I get off, please guys, make sure you check this in your policy when you get home, or look for this when your insurance carrier, or, how you're training your employees, please, address this. Is there anything that I didn't cover that you wish I had?
No, you covered everything. I do want to say to people, if you don't have a good relationship with your agent and you don't feel like you can call and ask questions, I would love to look at your insurance for you. We do free insurance reviews through our office all the time, especially for the major coverages that a janitorial business needs. So if you're looking to have a coverage review done, get optional quotations, possibly change your insurance agents, or just talk to somebody different, third party, we'd be happy to help you. We'd be happy to look at it. And Moody has some free resources that a lot of business owners could use. We have an HRNet portal. And if it's somebody that people know that works with Melissa, they're welcome to reach out to us, and we'll provide the free service for them too. But we have an HRNet portal where it's state-specific information where people can log on and find information on OSHA compliance, hiring, firing practices, different things like having a human resource manager on staff. But most small businesses don't have access to that. It's not even feasible. So this is something, it's not an interactive site where you can ask questions, but there is a ton of information. You can download and customize an employee handbook. So for people that don't have one, that are looking for something, it's a great start.
I hope everyone pay attention to that, because I'm going to be putting information for this in the links of the videos as we put these up. But just to be clear, you mentioned that you guys will do a free policy review. For those of you who've watched this and going, oh God, what do I have for insurance? Do I have gaps? Moody Insurance will do a free policy review for you and break down for you, hey, you're missing this, this doesn't cover what you think it's going to cover. You're actually classified as this and you should be that. They're going to do that homework for you if you reach out. This is a huge benefit. So if you're thinking, okay, I've heard all these terms tonight, I don't know what I'm looking at, you can have someone that knows what they're doing look at it for you. Moody in particular, I know from my professional world, I believe you guys are a member of ARCC and ISSA. You're deeply involved in the cleaning world. For those that don't know, ARCC is the big organization for residential cleaners. ISSA is the sort of big overarching commercial association for commercial cleaning chemicals and companies and equipment and all that stuff. So they're deeply entrenched in this world. They are specialists in this industry. So if you've gotten your insurance from Joe Schmo up the block, they're going to be able to find very different issues in your policies than whoever it is you picked. So please, please, please check out that resource. They know what they're looking at. And most importantly, this is why I have worked with Laura for over 18 years, because she knows what she's looking at, and she's amazing. And she's right. Your insurance agent should be as trusted a confidant in your business as your accountant and as your lawyer. Because quite frankly, they're going to have more impact on your business if something goes wrong than either of those two together. Sorry, said it out loud. That being said, I think we're coming up on our hour. You've been wonderful. You've shared so many truth bombs and nuggets in here, things that I even know after 18 years of working here with you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. For anyone that's listening, I hope you were taking notes. We do these episodes regularly, Cleaning Up the Profits. Please be sure to follow and subscribe and like and all the things that make sure you get updated on when the next one's released, because we continue to bring these sort of experts and successful owners in to give you the knowledge you need to succeed without having to learn the hard way. And I want to say thank you so much one last time to Laura. You've been incredible. I'm going to put all of her contact information for Moody in the comments, and so everyone can reach out. And please take them up on this offer. It is wonderful education you've received today, but it's useless if you don't act and do the next step. So take the next step and get your policy reviewed. Don't watch this and just go, oh, that was scary. Oh, well, I guess I'll ignore my policy, okay? Please reach out or actually fix the things that you made you worried about, because you should be worried about them and you need them fixed, okay? and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye, everybody.